You're listening to Winnipeg Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. It's not every day that an orchestra shows up at your door, but this past week, students at 3 schools, Daniel McIntyre Collegiate Institute, John W. Gunn Middle School, and Fort Richmond Collegiate, had the opportunity to get up close and orchestral with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. The hour-long, engaging and interactive program brought the entire orchestra to the students under the direction of RBC Assistant Conductor Monica Chen. And to hear more about it, Monica has joined me in studio alongside Brent Johnson, WSO Associate Director, Education and Community. Welcome to you both.
Hi.
Good morning.
Well, Monica, first off, we're overdue in welcoming you to the Classic 107 studio. Let me begin by congratulating you on the new gig, RBC Assistant Conductor of the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. How does it sound?
Thank you so much for welcoming me here. It's been quite a journey for sure, but they're so welcoming, the staff, and so warm, and especially the community of Winnipeg, really welcoming here to the whole city, and the culture is so vibrant too.
You stepped into the role officially back in September. It's a role in which you're very busy with not only the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, but also serving as music director of the STEMA Winnipeg and conductor of the University of Manitoba Symphony Orchestra. What's that been like so far?
It's definitely been a new journey to discover what it takes to be a part of 3 different organizations, but definitely at every single level you see the value and the impact of the education from young kids to university, and leading all the way to how the WSO really brings all these concerts to these communities. It's really quite special.
So just kind of catch listeners up. You're originally from Vancouver. You arrive in Winnipeg with 2 master's degrees, one in orchestral conducting from UBC, the other from Indiana University in violin performance. You've worked closely with Yannick Nézet-Séguin, are affiliated with Tapestry Opera, and earlier this year it was announced that you're going to be joining the Women in Musical Leadership program. And I'm really just skimming bio here for the listeners. I'm curious, when was it in your musical journey that you thought conducting might be something you want to explore or pursue? Because I would imagine you came up playing orchestrally with symphonies and playing in chamber groups all the way through, as a young player and through your university years. Was there a particular moment when you can kind of pinpoint, I'd like to get up on the podium, or was it just sort of over time you realized it might be something you'd like to explore?
It was kind of a moment when I was in my undergraduate in my 3rd year. I decided to take conducting class because I wanted to understand the conductor better, because I really enjoyed orchestra, and I didn't think considering conducting as a career was even an option until at the end of that year. My teacher asked me if I would consider maybe continuing, and he said, you should go audit this music festival and just see what you think. And so I did, and then I just saw the difference between the graduate students and the teacher, and it just seemed like magic, and that was kind of when my curiosity got sparked.
Well, very excited to see you here in Winnipeg. You made your orchestral debut with an absolute legend up on the stage, Al Simmons, in the Kids Concert Series a few weeks back. Yeah. Brent, let me bring you into the conversation here a little bit. Monica was this week as part of this Up Close and Orchestral initiative. Can you tell us more about it more broadly?
Sure. Well, first of all, Up Close and Orchestral is probably my favorite week of the year. Certainly it's got to be up there, top 5. My job is pretty cool because I get to bring people together through music and share exceptional musical experience with them in all kinds of different capacities and venues. This week, the venue was high school gyms. And that might not sound like the ideal place for a concert. And it's not necessarily about the setting, but the fact that we have the entire orchestra there literally surrounded by students who are on this thrilling musical journey for an hour. And we designed the program to be very engaging. There's a lot of different points at which the students are involved throughout the concert. Human cannons, because you can't bring real cannons into a school for health and safety reasons, and other factors as well. We have pick a student out of the audience to come conduct the orchestra. Yeah. So somebody's having their orchestral conducting debut at conducting, in this case, it was the Imperial March from Star Wars. I mean, holy
so
cow.
Good. Yeah, that's a bucket list item for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I do want to unpack and talk a little bit more about, but I guess kind of just right off the get-go, do you have any idea how many students you performed for over the past week?
Probably a few thousand, I would say.
Which is absolutely wild. That's a few thousand young ears taking in the symphony up close and orchestral. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people sitting around thinking like, hold on, I would love WSO to show up at my school. How did you settle on Daniel McIntyre Collegiate Institute, John W. Gunn, and Fort Richmond?
Being an arts administrator, I have lots of spreadsheets, and one of those is a spreadsheet where I track the history of this program, which started in 2008, and all the schools that we visited in that time. And I do try to keep it equitable in terms of geography and just sort of a historical rotation. So these were schools that were sort of up next on the list in terms of being possible for us to go visit. Daniel McIntyre Collegiate also celebrated or is celebrating their 100th anniversary this year, which is really cool. So it was nice that we were kind of able to be a little bit of icing on their cake in terms of bringing the orchestra to their school. John W. Gunn was interesting. The former government announced a mandatory grade 10 assessment that was supposed to have taken place in this week. And that was announced only the last week of August, I believe. So it was a surprise to school administrators and teachers. And it threw a real wrench into our plans because we had set this week aside to be our tour week. And John W. Gunn ended up being the solution to the problem of gyms being tied up for exams.
Makes sense. Yes.
So John W. Gunn shares, there's a whole campus actually where Transcona Collegiate, John Gunn, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the elementary school, all share like 2 square city blocks. So the high school kids from TCI came over to John Gunn, and actually they invited students from Collège Pierre-Elliott Trudeau who bussed in, and from Springfield Collegiate outside the city. And that was a really cool connection because 2 of our musicians are Springfield Collegiate alum. Keith Dearda, our principal trombone, and his brother Jeff, who is our associate concertmaster. And so we were able to, we shine a spotlight on all these local connections. Renz, actually, who's sitting principal oboe this week, is a graduate from Daniel McIntyre. So we threw the spotlight on him when we were there, and, the students were really excited. It's breaking down barriers and showing that, number one, orchestras are not inaccessible. We are here for you. We are making music for you. It's easy to come and enjoy this. Now we are literally under your roof and inside your 4 walls, providing this really impactful musical experience. And there's lots of ways that we can show that, like, this is possible from a career standpoint for someone who's driven and passionate about it. But it's also just possible to engage with the orchestra in so many different ways, and most people don't know that.
Now, Monica, let me go back to you here because, as Brent mentioned, several thousand students just took in these performances. You were up on the podium surrounded by the students with a full WSO contingent in front of you. What was that experience like for you?
It was interesting because at every single school, you could feel a different energy and the different interest levels in terms of how they connected to each music. So in that program, you could hear how each school reacted to this piece or Star Wars it was always surprising to find where it connects with each student. It was nice to hear how some students would come up after the concert to talk to me like, oh, what was that piece? The second one, I really wanted to go listen to that afterwards. Or they're like, oh, I've always wanted to hear Star Wars live. Or it's nice to hear how bringing this music to them could actually spark an inspiration in their lives.
I'm sure many people are wondering, apart from the Imperial March, which you got here, what else was on the program? Well,
we also performed Prokofiev. He had a Romeo and Juliet suite, and we did the Montagues and Capulets, which was quite popular. And also we had an Andrew Balfour piece, who is a local of Winnipeg, and he wrote a piece called Kiwetsin Asakos, which is the fanfare to the peoples of the North, as well as a Hummel trumpet concerto featuring our local talent, Sam Ferguson.
An FRC student. We've had him on the show before.
Oh, great.
Phenomenal player he is.
And also Stravinsky Firebird, the Infernal Dance, which was
a lot of heavy hitters. The program. I mean, you're just listing these up, and I'm going like, you're going to walk out of there pretty energized, right? And I'm sure, like you say, every space would have its own kind of work that would in a certain way, but on the whole, like this is one of those works that's going to really have you leaving and thinking like, this is some really engaging music, and it's something that you don't necessarily think of young kids going and grabbing and putting on the best of classical music unless they're listening to Classic 107. and then they get these deep dives all the time, right? So, I mean, it's just such a cool opportunity for those musicians themselves. What did you give the young student who had the opportunity to lead the Imperial March time to give them any like coaching or tips?
Yep. And it varied with each student, of course, but I gave them a very quick kind of conducting 101, and it helped that in the piece right before we had the audience be a live canon. So they had the concept of gravity and up and downs and how to kind of go over that to a basic 4 pattern. And while they're conducting, I'm kind of at their side, half shouting into their ear because the orchestra is quite strong, but I would kind of point to, okay, if you look at the trumpets, they'll just come in, which is a little bit of a generalization. But on the level of the student, I would be able to provide some in-the-moment feedback.
Yeah.
For example, the one should be taller and more visible than the others. And it was, I think it went really well.
That's really cool. And what an awesome bucket list item. I mean, conducting a symphony orchestra. Now, the thing that we've sort of been dancing this entire time is this mention of human cannons. I want to end with this question, and I don't know who wants to tackle it. What's a human cannon?
So in one of our pieces, the 1812 overture, it was written for live cannons, but we don't have that. And we wanted to have some participation where they felt like they were a part of the piece. So I kind of had to coach the audience in terms of how we just got them to give a nice big boom sound. And
like we're talking like yelling boom?
Yes.
Nice.
So with a gym of like a couple hundred kids, you would really feel the resonance of that boom, and they kind of got a feeling of being a part of the piece as well.
Oh, very cool indeed. Thank you to me this morning, and like you say, Brent, this is just one of those great WSO initiatives. I can't wait to see what's next. Can't wait to welcome you back to the studio, Monica, as you continue your tenure with the WSO as RBC Assistant Conductor. Brent, as always, it's lovely seeing you, and we're going to end this conversation with the aforementioned 1812 overture. This is a recording that doesn't use human cannons, but instead we'll hear the Royal 22nd Regiment with the performing. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.